Dork.
Come on.
Hello, folks. Welcome to the pilot episode of Mortal Content. This is a show that was kind of the brainchild of our illustrious producer and myself. We're going to talk about all kinds of media. Yeah, and whether it be books, movies, TV, music, video games, podcasts, we're going to go the gamut. We're going to talk about anything and everything we want to. We'll have guests and some co-hosts where it calls for it. So first of all, I want to say thank you all for joining and tuning in here because it's going to be interesting and fun and it's a new thing for us. We're going to do this the second Tuesday of every month. So at 9 p.m., like we do all of our other shows. This has been, an interesting way to start because it's something that I'm always wanting to talk about on Speakeasy Conversation about things I watch, things I listen to. I always have a million things that I'm doing. So this is a chance for me to run my mouth a bit on these things. So I'm super excited for all this. Right now, this time we're broadcasting just solely on the Daddy Porner YouTube channel, but we do have a Mortal Content YouTube channel. You'll see down in the bottom, there's a link tree that has both the YouTube and an Instagram for those. Also an email if you need to email. If you have ideas for shows or things you want us to talk about, please do that. That's mortalcontent@gmail.com. So if you go over to YouTube and find our show, please subscribe. That'd be helpful just for fun. And, I'm really excited to do this because I get to talk about a lot of different things and, that tickles my brain really nicely. So thanks a lot for being here for this. Also, for this particular show, what I'm going to do is going to go to my social media moniker roots here. And this show is going to be me drinking whiskey. On Cult Bar, I always drink cocktails. And then on Speakeasy, I always drink beer. This is going to be different. This is going to be me having whiskey. So in that vein, largely Scotch because I'm a Scotch fleers. I might venture into Irish whiskey. If I'm really desperate, I'll do bourbon, but that's not really my jam. But tonight I'm doing Cahuilla, which, man, the lighting is pretty harsh. Cahuilla. This is a Islay Scotch, which Islay is my jam. That's all peaty and smoky and all that stuff. So I got a little glass of that here. What I do with it, just so you know, and everybody can drink it however they want. This is how I learned to when I was in Scotland at different distilleries. Is I pour some, I take a little bit of water and drop some drops in there, and that's just how I like it because it opens like the nose of everything up. Some people drink it with a whole bunch of water. Some people don't. Some people drink it with ice. As we do with any of our shows, drink things that you like and the way you like, which I'm sure we'll be discussing with our guests later. But yeah, this is actually, I think, my wife's favorite Scotch. I am more partial to Ardbeg and Lafroig, but this is a super peaty, smoky one. Yeah, it smells awesome.
Super peaty, smoky.
That's good. That'll grow some hair in your chest if you don't have any. So yeah. So anyway, I just want to thank our producer here for coming up with the idea and helping us get this off the ground. Our next show will be February 11th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. And so, and I don't have it all concrete yet, but I believe we'll be doing movies. So that will be the next show. So, yeah.
Movies. I've seen movies recently. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So anything you'd like to add, Mr. Mysterious Producer, before we bring on our guest?
No, I don't. I'm not sure what the mystery is. I like making fun of Drake, and it's fun. And look at that face, and it's all that's yeah. There's no mystery there. But no, man, I'm excited for you to jump out here again and tell everybody all the we could never really fit all the media into our other ventures together. So for you to be able to do this is fun, and for me to help enable it is fun. Yeah, and you have a really interesting and fun guest. He's right up your alley for a bunch of
Mhm.
reasons.
Yes,
So
sir.
I'm looking forward to this. And I don't know, I'll be checking it out. And yeah, man, break a leg, like I said before, and this should be fun. Next week we will return with the speakeasy, y'all.
Mhm.
And yeah, so the producer is gonna dip out here, Doug, and have a good time.
Thank you. So
Cheers.
yeah, cheers. And as far as our guest goes, the reason the producer mentioned that it's right up my alley into the horror author, and I love horror books, horror movies, all of it. So I am, yeah. Sadly, no, I'm not interviewing Kendrick, but I have the next best thing. I promise you. So yeah, what we have here is Beau Johnson, who is a horror writer from Canada, and he writes a series of books called the Bishop Rider series. It's a tremendously interesting, tremendously gory book series, which is great. Again, I love that stuff. So I can't wait to talk to him about all this. So without further ado, as our producer would be want to say, here's Beau Johnson. Welcome,
Hey,
Beau.
thanks for having me, Doug.
Yeah, how are you doing tonight, sir?
How we're doing good. Yeah.
Yep. So what are you drinking tonight?
Tonight I have Moosehead.
Yeah. Well, you're not
Nice
showing
Canadian.
you're not showing the glass. That's the
Oh, the
important
glass.
part.
Oh yeah.
Ice
Moose
in the beer.
ice in the beer. If you want to trigger people, put ice in your beer.
Hmm. But please point out why you believe putting ice in your beer is a good thing, because I didn't think
Two
of this and it's a great idea.
two reasons. I love my beer ice cold. And second, it helps with the hangover. If I drink a few too many, at least I'm getting the hydration from the ice cubes.
Yeah, and that's something I didn't even think about, the hydration, but I'm like, ice and beer, but I could see it from a cold perspective. I just never considered the hydration element of it. So
Mhm.
that's pretty cool.
But I'll tell you, it triggers some people, something fierce.
Yeah, yeah. So I can imagine. So,
Oh, yeah.
which we'll get into later, that you're not really afraid to do that with folks. So that's a good thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So let's talk about your books. First of all, this is the most recent book, Like-Minded Individuals, Bishop
That is the
Rider
new
book.
one.
Yeah, this was just released on the 3rd of this month, correct?
Correct.
So I dog-eared this, so I hope you don't mind.
That's
But
okay. It's your book.
I'm about halfway through. I will say I really just love the characters you have. I sent you a message, just like some of the names of the characters, because the names of the characters are not specific, but they are all at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, one of the characters is Paul Rand, one of the victims, I guess, of Bishop Rider.
Yeah.
So there's other ones that just floored me, especially the guy named Osteen, because that was fucking awesome.
Sometimes the real world bleeds through to my fiction. Yes.
Yeah, as it should. But so can you tell me a bit about where the hell did Bishop Rider come from? Like, what was the genesis of Bishop Rider? How did that come to being for you?
Way back at the start, we'll go back to my childhood and those Death Wish movies with Charles Bronson.
Oh, yeah.
That was the start of it. And then I found The Punisher as I got older. And then it's sort of a combination of that. But I wanted to put my own spin on it. So I tell this story out of sequence. And instead of his whole family getting murdered, my guy has had his mother and his sister taken from him. And that's what sets him on the path of taking things into his own hand.
Yeah. So you mentioned The Punisher. Was that the comic books or movies? Which was the thing? Because I thought
the comic books was before the movies. So I think it was the genesis of those two things together. And as I started writing or trying to find my own voice, because when I first started writing, it was all like Monster of the Week, time travel. And it wasn't until I found crime fiction that I sort of melded horror and crime together, and Bishop Rider came to be.
Yeah. And it is what's funny is what I find really super interesting about Bishop Rider is he's very singularly focused, and he's not a man of a lot of words, but he just has basically an insatiable desire for justice. And he goes after, for those of you who haven't read his books, and I can't recommend you do so, he goes after pedophiles, human traffickers. Like, there's some others that I'm completely whiffing on right now, but
just the scum of the earth he goes after. Yes.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So I want to push this up, Rover, because our friend Zach, he's going to meet the Punisher's creator at a signing at his local bookshop.
Ah, nice.
That's pretty awesome. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to also say that before we get too far into the book, sorry, another side tangent, and you will see I'm prone to this, so I apologize.
Not a problem.
The idea that the people that always have like the Punisher stickers and their shirts and all that stuff are the people the Punisher would really hate.
Yes, totally. It's bonkers. I don't know if they're just being obtuse or they're that unintelligent. I don't know.
They want to be their own hero, I think.
Yes.
It's that whole Zach, please, that's a family friend. All right, Zach's dad, I think, was an actor, so that kind of tracks. So maybe that's the real thing, that Jerry Conway is his family friend. But yeah, I really enjoy the Bishop Rider thing. So I love that was like that you garnered it from a couple different sources to kind of make your own way. I remember like reading something when Chuck Wendig said, all stories have been told, they just haven't been told by you, and you have your own perspective. And
Yep.
I think that's a really great way to view it. Is just like, yeah, there's, I get a little, like, I write, I've never had anything published, but like the idea of like, I have story ideas, and, you always want to feel like you're coming up with this original idea, but almost every idea has been
told.
done. Yeah. So
it's
just
been told in your voice. I totally believe that. Yes.
Yeah. So the other question I want to ask you is, so you write this, and I would describe it as you write more in like vignettes. Is that an accurate way to say it?
Well, they're connected short stories. So
okay,
I've always told Bishop Rider's story out of sequence. So as after Bishop died, and Jeremiah has taken over the narrative, it's more linear now that I'm past Rider. I still fuck around with time, no problem. I like to do that still. But it's just killing Bishop Rider opened up his story. It's the best thing I ever did, I always say, is killing Bishop Rider. So he died in my 5th book, but the 6th book is the Abram Files. And then this is the 7th book, which continues on from the Abram Files with Jeremiah at the helm. And I should say Jeremiah is Bishop Rider's last living partner before Bishop died. And he actually is the son of the man who killed Bishop's sister and mother. So that's the connection there.
Yeah, and it's a sort of fascinating connection.
Oh yes, and he's trying to atone for his father's sins. That was the difference I wanted to play with. Like Bishop has always been like angst, broody, and just single-minded. But Jeremiah, he's a little bit brasher, a little more talkative. And he's actually, if I'm honest, he's freer or more fun to write than Bishop. Even though I love Bishop, Jeremiah seems to have a little different voice than Bishop.
It gives you a little more room to play too. Like that he's a little more wordy. You can go a lot of different directions, where like part of the appeal of Bishop Rider to me was that he was so singularly focused.
Yeah.
But I could see how writing him would be, all right, well, you're pretty, not that you're tied in that you have to go a certain direction, but it might feel that I could see that. I could see how that would be the case. But yeah, Jeremiah Abrams is pretty fun. And
he is. Oh, I love him. Don't tell Bishop that though, but I love
him. Well, Bishop, he's dead. But
yeah, right.
But I remember I actually wrote a short story for your anthology you're writing with other people. And,
I remember. Yeah.
And I wrote something that was pretty different because I basically made Bishop Rider be able to learn that he could kill people from beyond the grave, which was not really a Bishop Rider thing. And I knew that going in that was like not likely to get, but it was fun for me to write. So,
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciate
there was a lot of different takes on Bishop Rider. I think we had about 60 or 62 come in, and yeah, there was a lot of good takes.
Yeah. And it's, I think I can't imagine that was totally fun to do because of all the different stories you have to read.
Well, I say I'll try anything once, and I did that once, and I think that's the last time I'll do
it. Yeah, I was reading something by I don't know if you know the writer. I'm not sure if it's Gemma Amor.
I know Gemma, yeah.
Yep, and she wrote that she did some anthology. She's like, that is the amount of work to do an anthology is almost thankless. Like just the amount of stuff you have to do. And I was like, yeah, I can see that. Like, and if you're putting together the anthology and you have to do all the legwork, that I feel like you might have had about 10 or 12 Molsons for that. So
say again. Oh yeah. Well, I had some help. Hector Costa, he was my co-editor, so he helped, and then Download books help too, and then, you know, we got some gems in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
added to Bishop Ryder's life in ways I never imagined.
Interesting, and that's cool. And the thing was, I never did get around to buying that book, and I have, I think, 4 of your books, but I need to get the rest of them. So, um, what is your favorite? This is kind of a general question,
Yeah.
but or maybe not general. But what is your favorite revenge that Bishop Ryder got? And then the same with Jeremiah.
Well,
Because
you know what?
Jeremiah is relatively new, but I mean, Bishop's has a
Right.
little bit more anthology for that. But
Well, because I get asked that question, what's your favorite death? Which Jeremiah takes the cake. But yes, but I'm glad that you split up the questions because I can answer both. So when Bishop Ryder loses his leg, the guy that sets it all in motion, he catches him years later, and he gets Batista, his partner at the time, guts him, and then he ties his intestines to a hitch of a van and just takes him for a ride. He's eating asphalt, and so that was my favorite kill for years until Jeremiah took the reins, and then he likes to work with this forklift, and in the book that you have, he gets it between a guy, between a guy's mouth and takes off the top of his head like a toupee. It's pretty. I like it. It's one of my favorites.
And if you're not a gore person, then tread lightly with these books. But like if you like gore and really creative gore, like I said, you'd be well suited to pick these up because it just kind of gives you a whole new perspective on the creativity and the ways people can do that. Like I want to ask, have you ever seen I'm not sure how old you are. I'm 53, but I remember
52.
there was a period of time where there were these stupid movies that were called Faces of Death.
Well, I think I remember them in high school, but I never saw one, but I heard about them.
Yeah, it was like just the worst special effects kills, like, and they were popular because they were super gory. But like, it's just interesting how certain people will gravitate towards that more than others. Whereas, like, sometimes when I'm reading, a lot of times I kind of gravitate towards more the psychological horror, like that kind of stuff. But there's like nothing wrong with just a straight up super gory book. That's great because it's it pierces sort of a base nature of your brain, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, I'll agree. And my whole goal is I try not to duplicate kills, but as I've gotten, there's over 200 Bishop Ryder stories now. Sometimes I have repeated myself, but I try to do it in a different, unique spin on the same way that I kill someone.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, the thing is, if you have killers, they also tend to have sort of a pattern. So it's kind of hard to, I could see how it'd be a little bit like with this particular one with Jeremiah Abrams, and they have I think you call it the kill box.
Ryder's last gift to the world. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not that he does the same things in the kill box. He doesn't. So I just find that interesting that you have this kill box where you could see, like, you had something like Dexter, and Dexter basically kills everybody almost the same way and, creeps his kill room and all that jazz. But this is not like that. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. It was fun. Ryder's last gift to the world holds many bodies by the time we're done.
Yeah. The fact that the bodies just stay in there is just, they stay in all sorts of different states.
I'm like, yes, I'm just, and the new guys that keep going in, I'm like, oh man, that is just the worst smell they're dying in. Yeah.
Yeah. This appears to have been drunk, just not with ice, and a reference to our stories.
See, easy. It's easy.
Yeah. All right. So here's a question from our guy JHG. Do gore movies influence your writing?
I think yes. I think they have to. I've always liked horror movies, so people say they write with a movie in mind. I don't know if I write with a movie in mind when I'm writing, but I see what I'm writing. But a lot of people compare some of my stuff to Jigsaw with Saw. It's not that I have these intricate little. They're not like that at all, but I can see where they come from.
I wonder. I haven't seen any of the Terrifier movies, but I wonder. I've heard that that's a little less Saw-like, but super gory. So I don't. Have you seen any of those?
None. They just don't interest me. I think it's just too extreme, even for me.
Yeah, I think that appeals to people who really like special effects. Like I have a buddy of mine who's a big horror fan, and he went and saw them, and he's like super gory and just like if you like special effects, it'll be for you. But if you don't, you're not that interested in how they do the special effects. Like when I was a kid, I had Fangoria magazine because I was fascinated by all the special effects stuff. But yeah, I don't think I'm interested in that too much.
I think the first movie that always sticks with me is John Carpenter's The Thing. Just
great
that amazed
movie.
Me. Yeah. Yes. Oh, I think I was 12, 10 or 12. I don't know, but it stuck with. I've watched it so many times. Even watch it with my kids now. So yeah, it's a classic for sure.
For sure. And like if you haven't seen it, you absolutely should because it's just a great movie. So I like horror movies. I just don't want to do the campy ones.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Well, what do you? Because that's the thing that begs the difference, begs the question. I don't know if that's the right phrase because I always think that's a weird way of phrasing it. What do they consider campy? Like to me, campy is like Friday the 13th and Halloween. To me, those are campy. They're gory and they're fun, but they're campy. I don't know. What do you?
I would say maybe Voorhees would be more campy than Myers. Myers, I think they tried to at least until they went with the cult thing or whatever. But those first 4 ones were pretty good.
Yeah. So, Greg's saying yes. So
okay. Yeah.
All right. So we hit that one. Another question, if you're ready, this would be: is there any non-horror genres that influence you?
Well, King always gets labeled horror, but he's not horror. So King can write so much that is not horror that I enjoy. But I any non-horror genres influence. Well, crime, of course, a lot of crime. Like I say Cosby.
Go read I say Cosby.
Yeah, he's writing some great shit right now.
Yeah.
Kuntz, I like Kuntz back in the day, and yeah, he's more supernatural, I guess. But me and Dean Kuntz parted ways when about Odd Thomas came about. I just never went back to him.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say crime influence. Like I said, when I try and merge horror and crime, that's where I try and find the line.
Yeah, I think yes, there's some horror elements to King books, but I think it's more terror than it is horror. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but I look at Shawshank Redemption, I look at Stand By Me. Like, there's a bit in there, but it's not horror. I can't even say it's terror, right? It's just good writing, great writing.
And there's never a book of his that I read where I don't stop after reading some sentence. And I'm like, fuck, that was a great sentence. like it's just a sentence, and he does something with a sentence that just is like, I don't know how you're pulling that.
He's a master storyteller, that's for sure.
That's for sure. Here's another question. Did you ever read Palahniuk's more horror-leaning stuff like Lullaby? I haven't read that.
I have not.
Yeah. Okay. And I know he can get pretty gory himself, but I honestly think I read only 2 of his books, and one of them was Fight Club. But but I think that was because I saw the movie, and then he said the movie was better than his book, but then I had to read the book to make sure. So,
and
I thought the movie was better.
Okay.
What's funny is I think it's one of those weird movies where you watch it, and I don't know if you feel the same, but every time I watch it, I come away with something different out of it. Like, what was the goal of this movie? I've seen that movie 20 times, and every time I'm like, well, maybe it wasn't that. Like, initially it was like male anger, but that's not really what that movie was about. There's like, it's, consumerism and like a million other things. So like, I just think that movie itself is kind of a masterpiece in the way that it gives you different things to think about.
Yeah. Bottom line, it's a great movie. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But to your point with King, I agree. He writes like relational stuff, and just like what I think things that he does is great is he'll take a character that's only in a book for like 3 pages, and in 3 pages makes you care about that character, and then you never see them again. And that's just a supreme skill to have. I don't know. So.
Yeah, it's going to suck when he's gone.
I know.
Yeah.
Did you see that? I recently saw it on Blue Sky where he posted that he was teaming up with Maurice Sendak to do like an interpretation of Hansel and Gretel. I did see that. Yeah. And doing
we'll see if it goes anywhere, but the Talisman 3.
Oh, that's right. He did.
Yeah.
He also kind of talked about that he was writing again in Midworld, which was very vague. And
and I think that's what the territories. I think that's what he was alluding to. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. But yeah, it was just something where I was like, oh, because of Midworld, I'm going Dark Tower. I'm not thinking of the Talisman, which I probably, all of those things are connected. They all serve the beam. So yeah.
Right. But I think the vast majority was thinking Dark Tower for sure.
Yeah, for me. So, I mean, I even wore a Dark Tower shirt for crying out loud. So, um, so what is, so this is going to go a little bit broad. So pardon that, but, what is the favorite sort of like, I'm going to use the word revenge because maybe revenge is not the right word for Bishop Rider but there is to some element to what he has done, especially considering certain people. What to you is a really good revenge book that you've read, like that you go, oh, that's super good. Like, I'm curious if you have any that stand out for you, if that just kind of tickle your brain the right way.
Well, I didn't read it, but I know it was a book. But I always enjoyed The Help with the chocolate pie. Like,
oh yeah,
but I didn't read the book; it was just the movie. So that's going to be my answer.
That's a good one, though. Like, I didn't even consider that. I mean, like, my brain immediately was like Count of Monte Cristo or something like that. But like, that's it's sort of an old classic. But I think also like, I think Gone Girl was really good for that. But yeah, I don't know. I just find it interesting to see what other people think. Like, if you're writing in a certain genre, maybe, like I said, maybe revenge isn't the right word for what I was trying to get into there. But yeah, so. Again, I have a million questions I can ask, so I'm going to try to not go abreast too far. So I'm going to give you a really big question, if you don't mind. What I'm going to ask is, I'm going to say favorite, and that's hard because favorites they change according to your mood and what you're thinking and feeling that day. So what are your favorite books or book series? I will tie them. You can pick either or. I was thinking 5, but you could pick, however many you like. I know we can talk about them because I'm sure you've read stuff I haven't read. That's for sure. And the opposite is true.
No, you're probably
because you read a lot of books. You post a lot about books you read, and you liked all these books. I'm like, Jesus, where do you find the time? Like, I can't do that.
Well, our business here only runs 6 months of the year, so I have some time off in the winter.
Okay.
But I would say my favorite series is, and it's probably close to yours too, The Dark Tower. You can't go wrong with The Dark Tower. But granted, I haven't read everything, and I know there's other series out there. Like my kid is reading Brandon Sanderson right now, so he really likes that. So, but I want to tell you a little story about The Dark Tower.
Okay.
So it took me 23 years to read from when I found it to the end. Right.
Okay.
It took my boy 9 months.
Wow.
I know, and he's done it twice now.
Oh, he's gone on the journey to the tower twice.
Yes, crazy. Yeah. I've taken the tour twice too, but man, for him to do it in the span of 2 years, he started reading at I think 15, 16, maybe 16, and he fell in love with King like I fell in love with King. And when he found the Dark Tower, oh my goodness, it was great. Yeah. The great talks we had about those books.
What was one of the things that your son came up with an insight or thought on it that you were like, wow, I didn't think of that?
Well, I don't know if I didn't think about it. What I like it when he
thought it was like an interesting perspective or something.
Yeah, like perspective is like when Callahan came into it, and he's like, why is this Callahan? I don't care for his backstory. And, and then a day later he comes in, Dad, I love this guy's backstory. I'm like, I love when that happens, right? Yeah. Or he was really, and he's right. A lot of people do it. Well, I did anyways. I don't know if a lot do, but in the Drawing of the Three, when Roland's on the beach and he's going to fire and he's like, please let there be no misfire or whatever. And then there's just a 1-line chapter. There was no misfire. And my boy just lost it, and he still loses it. And it's great because it is. He should. I did too, right? It's just such great writing.
Yeah, he just. Well, then, what I think you and I actually, when I was still on Twitter, that fucking shitbox that it is now. I don't go anymore.
I'm gone too.
Yeah, I refuse. But I think you had posted what's the favorite Dark Tower book, and I cannot remember which one you said. Which one did you say?
Mine's A Drawing of the Three.
Yeah, that's. My wife is probably Wizard and Glass, but Drawing of the Three is second, and mine is not the most popular with most people. It's Wolves of the Calla. I love that book.
Yeah, that's a good book too. I think the one that gets the most flack is Songs of Susanna.
I think that's rightfully so, though.
Well, I don't know. I've reread it when my boy, it's not as bad as I remember it.
It's
I
not
shouldn't say that
bad.
because it wasn't bad, but it just, for some reason, through the years, I'm like, yeah, that wasn't so good. But I'm like, you know what? It's pretty good.
That's the thing. Even King's like just books are still better than most books.
Yeah. Like
So
Wind Through the Keyhole. I didn't, I liked Wind Through the Keyhole, but I don't think we needed it. But I got it, and I'm happy that we got it. But
yeah, I think that what he was trying to do is show off a bit of a story inside of a story inside of a story. We went through the keyhole, which is
yeah.
not something many people can accomplish and accomplish well.
And
So yeah. But Drawing of the Three is the thing is you read the Gunslinger. The Gunslinger is relatively short, and it was kind of cobbled together from multiple stories he wrote and just made into a book.
yeah.
And it's a bit disjointed, not much, but you can see like where the gaps are. The Drawing of the Three, just if you are in after that book, you're not going to be in for the series at all because that book just kind of sucks you all the way in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, a couple comments.
Oh, well, you're not wrong, Zach. Yeah.
Well, a couple. No, that wasn't it. That was the Dark Crystal thing.
Oh, the Dark Crystal. Now there's another movie for my youth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim Henson. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Greg has a question here, though. Have you ever had any strange or unsettling experiences that you think might have influenced your writing?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I don't think so. Now, sometimes when I get side eyes from people that I'm like, it's fiction. It's not real. Especially some of the people I went to high school with. I'm like, it's just made up. It's just I get paid to lie, but they give you the side eye.
I get paid to lie.
I don't want to take your arms. Like, come on.
You're fine.
Yes.
That's not really happening. So yeah. Have you ever had any sort of this is not part of the Bishop Project. Have you had any sort of paranormal experiences? Like you've read paranormal stuff. Like King does a lot of that in his books. Have you ever had any of those?
No. Like once when my youngest boy, when we lived in a different town, we saw this thing in the sky and it was moving like I've never seen anything move before. And this was about 10 years ago. And so we followed it around the neighborhood and thought it was an alien, but I don't know what it was, but it was moving different than I've ever seen anything. And that's the closest I can get to it.
Yeah. I wonder if it's like one of those drones from New Jersey that kind of floated over into your section of Canada.
Well, I don't know if drones a big thing back then in like 10 years ago. I just don't know. Maybe maybe they were, and we just didn't know. Yeah.
Well, I wonder if it's like one of the things like everybody thinks like the internet is like 10 years old and it's not, but drones are probably the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I actually wanted to touch on a few books to see if you've read them or heard of them.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the Necroscope series by Brian Lumley?
No.
So to tie in, you had a story about the Dark Tower. When my wife and I met, this was we had both freshly divorced. So this is us coming together and we were both readers. And she said, I will read whatever thing you want. And I said, I want you to read the Necroscope series. Now, the problem is I parried that down. The Necroscope series is like 15 books long. It's fucking super long. I've read the series 4 times, all 15 books. But that's because
so you have time to read.
I don't now. But back then I did. I didn't have a house and responsibilities. I was a young, dumb idiot. So I just read all the time. Okay. And hers was the Dark Tower series. So I said, all right, you don't only really have to read the first 8 books of the Necroscope series because the rest of them were kind of just, Brian Lumley was like, I'll just keep writing them. Like, why not? I'd make money. So, and it wasn't like a money grab. It's not like that, but it was just something he could do. And, he's a writer. He passed away last year, which was, kind of sad for me because it was like, I got those books when I was a teenager. So like I started reading them then, but the Dark Tower series, I read that and she read the Necroscope series. And then consequently, I ended up getting like a tattoo with a found door and she has the unfound door on her wrist. So it's like these.
Oh, nice.
So it's those things. So the Necroscope series is, I'm going to explain the premise. It's going to sound super implausible. I mean, just super dumb and implausible. But the way he writes it, everything's plausible. There's a character named Harry Keogh who is a necroscope, but not only can he talk to the dead, he figures out this thing called the Mobius continuum, where he uses mathematical equations to use the Mobius strip to travel across time, so he can travel anywhere instantaneously. Sounds super ridiculous. I'm telling you, the way he wrote it makes it sound believable, which I know that doesn't make any sense. But it's essentially a vampire series. But the vampires are unlike any vampires I've ever seen written. They spawn from a different world, a different dimension, which part of the Mobius continuum can connect to, but he doesn't find that out until like book 4. But the vampires come from eggs, and these vampires come super long, but they have the ability to like do a lot of metamorphosis and all this kind of weird stuff. But they're super fearsome and super difficult to kill. And it's incredible to read how he builds the worlds around them. Like his character stuff was good, but his world building was astronomically fantastic. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but if you have the time to read those, I can't recommend those enough. There's one that is fiction, but my wife was begging me to read it for a long time, and it was called Ishmael by Daniel Quinn. And this guy wrote it in the 90s, and it was about climate change.
Mm-hmm.
After I read that, I was like mad at her, and she's like, "What are you mad at me for?" And I said, "Why didn't you make me read this sooner? This is so good." So it's like one of those things where she's like, "I've been telling you to read this." I'm like, "I know, but you should have made me read it." So, and the Parable of the Sower, Parable of the Talents by Octavia Butler. I don't know if you read those. Those things are terrifyingly spot on for what's happening right now in the United States. It ties wildfires to like the government collapsing, and it's super good. So anyway, sorry, those are my little tangent on books, because I love talking books.
It's okay. We need a few more Luigis out there.
Yes.
Enough
said on that. I don't think we need to expand upon that, do we? I think we all know what we're talking about there.
Yeah.
What other? There's some other things I did. You ever experienced pushback from publishers or readers regarding the graphic nature of your work?
No, I don't really get any pushback. Some of my stuff is not for everybody, and that's fine. It shouldn't be, right? It can be extreme. I try not to be gratuitous in my writing, but I can't say I've ever really had any pushback. No.
Yeah, I don't find it gratuitous at all. There's a point to all the things, so it's not like you're just doing it to do it. It's actually, there's always a connecting line making it through all that to me. But
yeah.
Okay, Zach, you fucker. I do not have an NXS tattoo.
Oh man, is it your whole back?
Nah, just my shoulder blade.
Just your shoulder blade, okay.
Yeah, that tattoo hasn't aged well, but yes. All right. Well, sorry. Oh, man, that scotch hit me just the right way down the throat there. It's a new sensation. Thanks. Much appreciated there. Yeah, boom. All right. So I have some other things to get to, but I want to ask about, when did you start feeling like you needed to post about our situation in the past the border down here? What was it? The first Trump presidency? Was it before that? Because I'm curious where that goes. Because you don't know, Beau's very vocal about his thoughts on our on the freaking ninnies we have in office. So
yeah, I would say before he was elected your president the first time. And it's just because we're so close to it just bleeds through. He bleeds through everywhere. Everything he touches turns to shit, and it bleeds through to Canada. And I'm close to the border. I'm about an hour and a half away. So anyways, it affects our business. So, and now with whatever he's trying to do now, we will never be the 51st state. But anyways,
that's
whatever he's trying to do.
Yeah. One of my Canadian friends posted like, please don't say that stuff and repeat it and joke about it, because it's the dumbest thing. It's actually, Canadians don't want that. Like no Canadian wants that. None.
It's really, he shouldn't want it either. Like, even if he somehow, it's not going to happen. If it does, they absorb us. Really, they'll never win another election again. There's too many liberals here. If we get, we'd have to get the vote. Like, get out of here.
Yeah. He says stuff to incite people and specifically to get people who are liberal. But he's a troll, and that's what he does.
He's a troll. He's a bully. He's a piece of shit. Yeah.
So I was curious if it was before that, because my anger at the Republican Party goes way back to Reagan, because
that's fair enough. Yeah.
But there's some people, like, if you follow them, like I've kind of taken myself off of TikTok after that stupid stunt they did where they went offline for 12 hours, and when you went back in, all of a sudden they were like, "Oh, do you want to link your Facebook account?" Oh, that's what was going on. I think I'll pass. So, but there are people. There was this one lady on there called Cannon's Fodder, and she's a teacher in Florida, and she teaches about history and economics, and she's like, I can tie everything we have going wrong right now to Reagan. And she does. And it's fascinating to listen to, just how she does that sort of stuff, where it's like, well, Reagan did this, and that begat this, and then that begat this, and here we are. Like, it's interesting. Well, regarding Canadian politicians, I was very surprised that Doug Ford said he was going to basically give the middle finger to Donald Trump, because I feel like Doug Ford is like the Canadian Trump.
I'd say Poilievre's the Canadian Trump.
Oh.
Like, Ford has a lot of problems, but with him sticking up, well, it's weird, because he says he's glad. I see interviews where he caught on a hot mic. He's glad Trump became president. At the same time, he's like, I'm going to stand up to Trump, and he has. But he also wants to get reelected, so it's all fucking politics. Just burn it down.
Yeah. Are you guys in danger of having Poilievre?
I can't speak French very well. I think we're smart enough. I hope we're smart enough, that we don't. Yeah.
Because the sense I got from online when Trudeau said he was stepping down was that he was afraid he was going to lose to him. That was the sense I got. Now, that could be totally wrong. Again, American skewed politics is fucked on so many levels. So, like, just, I don't know.
No, I don't think that's the reason. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We have our problems.
Well, who's going to be running against him then? Do you have another candidate?
I think Carney. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't followed it that closely because I'm in the middle of this fucking maelstrom down here, so I don't know what the hell to follow up there. But it's just, I thought it was interesting. What I also find interesting is just how many countries are willing to stand up to Trump now and aren't afraid of him, because they realize what a weak person he is. I find that super interesting.
I don't know why it's taken so long, but the media is just a shit show. They're the worst. Yeah. They're the reason we're in half of this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Want to get paid, want their clicks. Like, just fucking report the news.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore because it's all money based. Well, everything is, especially in America here. Especially, like, I don't even want to get into healthcare because that makes me angry on a million levels. But sorry. And here we are supposed to talk about books, and we're getting into
let's get back
to so you like S.A. Cosby. What other See, I don't read a lot of crime fiction or anything like that. Who else would you recommend for me to start? Like, I have one of S.A. Cosby's books. It's All the Sinners Bleed. I haven't read it yet because I have a TBR pile that's like fucking 40 books high. But yeah,
I have I think I'm up to 88, maybe 98. So I'm good until 2028. I read about 40 books a year. So yeah.
Yeah, I set a goal for 50 this year, and that's ambitious. But I include audiobooks in that because I listen to audiobooks all the time because when I'm like doing stuff around the house.
Yeah.
But who would you recommend crime-wise, crime fiction for that besides S.A. Cosby?
I would say Rob D. Smith just came out with this book, Good Looking Ugly, and it was a great read. Krista Foss has got a new one coming out. I really enjoyed her new book. Curtis Ippolito, Burying the Newspaper Man. Grab that book if you get a chance. There's just so much great fiction out there.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
So we'd say, what was the first one?
Rob D. Smith.
Rob D. Smith. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking of Rob Hart, and he doesn't really write.
Well, you know what? Rob Hart too. Yes. Grab his book, Assassinations. Assassins Anonymous. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's more of his first crime sort of venture, isn't it? Like,
no, I think he had his Ash McKenna series before.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah. So the other thing, and I forgot you mentioned Hector Acosta, and there was a book that he wrote a story in that I read that Renee Pickup also wrote a story in, and it was a pandemic book. God, I can't remember what it was, but I remember
Yellow
reading
cover.
it. Yeah, yellow cover. I cannot remember what the name of it was.
Yeah, I'm blanking now too, because that was a great anthology. Oh, what was that? Damn, I post about it about every 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up here. Let me get the old Google machine out here and try to figure out.
I'll tell you, Nick Kolakowski's got a story in that anthology, and I'm a character in one of the stories. It was pretty good. I get turned into Ground Chuck.
That's awesome. Did he ask you to do that, or did he write it and told you, and it was a surprise?
I can't remember. He did contact me. Yes, I think he did. Yes, yeah. I had a gold tooth too. Yeah.
Yeah, you had a gold tooth.
Yeah, but there was a lot of great stories. Like Gemma Amor was in there. Angel Louise Colleen. A lot of great stories in that.
Lockdown. That was the name.
Yes, Lockdown. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Gemma Moore was in that too. You mentioned her, so Rob was in that. Gabriel Iglesias, who I really like.
Oh, Gabino, yeah.
Gabino. I said Gabriel. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, that was really because it was basically stories of crime, terror, and hope during a pandemic. So like very specific about what that was. So, well, I mean, you know, Renee is my co-host on the Cult Bar show that I do, and we do cults on that show. So if you've never had a chance to listen to her talk about cults, it's fascinating because she was in two cults. So like her backstory is pretty amazing. So yeah,
I met her at my first BoucherCon. She was very, very kind to me. Very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. I absolutely adore her. So, you know, hopefully I can, you know, her and I have never had the chance to meet in person. So I'm hopeful I get to do that. BoucherCon. I always called it BoucherCon.
Well, I think I was ButcherCon until like, oh, that's not how you pronounce it.
Yeah. So can you explain that to the folks here about this? Because I've never been. It's actually a thing I would like to go to, but
it's just like a book conference for fans. It's the biggest one in the world, I believe. There's over 2,000 that attend, and a lot of writers go, and a lot of fans of writers go. And it is, if you get to go to one, I highly recommend it. It's just the people that you see online or fellow writers that you finally get to meet. And then sometimes you get to meet a fan or two that you didn't know you had. So,
yeah, that's cool. So it's one of those things like I have not gone to any book conferences as much as I've gone to like other cons, but never like a book con. And I've never quite figured out why I haven't, because I love books so much, but probably price or proximity is probably the most reason.
It's not inexpensive. Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, I know two things. Like I know, like for instance, I don't know if you know Jessica McHugh. She was on the show a while back on, well, not on this one, but on Speakeasy one, and she mentioned she couldn't go to any cons this year because of money concerns, because of different things that happened with, you know, a bunch of other things. But she was actually a character in a Jonathan Mayberry book, and you were mentioning that, and I was listening to the audiobook, and I was like, wait, there's a character in here named Jessica McHugh. So I asked her about it, and she said, "Oh yeah, Jonathan asked me if he would be okay with me using her name in a book and as a character." And she was the Priestess of Death, which Jessica was super tickled about, because that was like something she was like, "This is great." So I think it's super cool that you got to be a character in somebody's books. That's pretty awesome.
I loved it too. But speaking of that, I put out a little poll a couple times about 4 years ago that if anybody wanted to be killed by Bishop Ryder, and I did it again, I think last year, and I think you responded.
I did.
So you do die.
as I should.
Just so you now, it won't be. I have 2 more books in the pipeline, so you're not in the next book, but I believe you're in the book after that.
Awesome. That's great. I'm super honored. That's great.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Thank you for killing me in one of your books.
No problem.
All right. So we have a lot of book talk, but another thing that I know you're pretty passionate about, or interested in, I guess, maybe passionate might be, but you and I are both fans of a certain show.
Oh, best show on TV right now.
And I did not get to watch the episode today yet. That got released today. Did you yet?
Yeah, because here it dropped at 9:00 last night.
Yeah, it didn't. If it did, I didn't. I wasn't. What was last night was? Oh, last night I didn't get home till almost 9 o'clock. I was picking my son and his boyfriend up from the airport. So, so yeah, I didn't get to watch it yet. So I'm going to ask you a very poignant question for that series. Are Irv and Bert ever going to get back together and find each other?
Wait till you watch this episode.
Oh, God damn it! All right, I'm going to ask you first. What do you love about this show? What is it about it that draws you to it?
I think it makes me think. Like it keeps me guessing. And it's like like when I first watched Lost, it was like appointment TV. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I want to know, and that's what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm
every episode's so weird, but great.
Yes. Like I'm like, so in the episode when they're outside in the mountains, like, are those clones? Did I see clones? Are they clones? I don't know. Is this show about clones?
Do we know?
I know. Like, who are those people that look exactly like them pointing, go over here? Like,
yeah, that was in the last episode I watched where they were in the snow. And, it is singularly one of the most oddest and most, like, one of the shows that just like pulls you in because of its oddness.
Well, in the writing and the acting, it's got it all. It's got the trifecta. It's what comes back for more.
Yeah, I would like to clarify that Irv and Bert are two characters in there who meet when they're in one part of the thing, and the characters are John Turturro and Christopher
Walken. Yeah,
and they are two men who are attracted to each other, and it is one of the best storylines I've seen in a show. Just like, and it's not a thing that overtakes the show at all. It's just it's a storyline within all these 5 or 6 other storylines going on at the same time. And the idea that Ben Stiller is producing this just kind of blows my mind.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. The guy that I really like is I forget now. His name's escaping. Dylan. Dylan's character, the guy that plays him, just is so good, just so spot on, just like,
are all of us famous or just one of us really famous?
Yeah, just like making just super interesting, weird comments. Like the fact that they had this lady is Miss Huang this season, and they're like, "Why are you a kid?" She won't answer them. She keeps going on. That show is just fascinating. I am, and they're making a season 3, which I'm stoked about. And I've said it on the Speakeasy show multiple times. If you don't have Apple Plus, you're missing some excellent TV. Excellent TV. Like,
they're making the best shows now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen Silo.
Yep. I'm current.
Yeah. Silo is awesome. Like,
I heard I didn't know they were a book series. So
yeah, by Hugh Huey, but I'd never heard of that before in my life. But like, the way they've done that series, well, first of all, anything Rebecca Ferguson is in, I'm in. I want to see what she's doing.
She is good.
She does a performance. I don't know if you ever saw Dr. Sleep.
Oh, yes. Rose the Hat?
Rose the Hat. She played Rose the Hat like, just like, I was just like floored. That was fantastic acting by her.
Yes.
I don't know. I think she's great. So
that was a great movie too.
Yeah. So it is funny because I didn't realize it was like basically like until I started watching it and I realized who Ewan McGregor's character was. And I was like, oh, this is the Shining sequel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And then of course Flanagan figures out a way to make that thing like
to bridge it all. Yeah.
To bridge it all. Like, that guy's a master. Like, oh God.
If we get him to do the Dark Tower series, my life will be complete. Well, maybe a couple grandchildren, but my life will be complete.
Yeah, that one. He wants to do it now.
Yep.
I don't know. We'll see if he can. I mean, right now he's got other things going on, but like I'm actually in the middle of this podcast called Flanagan's Wake, which is basically these guys who what they did was they did a show before this called Kingslingers, where the one guy has read the Dark Tower series multiple times and the other guys never read it. So they read it together and then they talked about it through the whole series. It was fascinating to read, to hear this one guy just like, he knows all the stuff that's going on. And the other guy's hearing him try to figure out what's going on through the whole series. And then they did a whole couple of seasons where it was like all the books that are affiliated with the Dark Tower, like that have ties to it. And so
Sure.
that was interesting. So then they kind of figured, well, we've done all the King stuff. Let's do Mike Flanagan, since he's done adaptations of like Gerald's Game and like, you know, Doctor Sleep and all this. So they're doing all his movies. So it's been really interesting to watch, because they're starting with like Flanagan's earliest stuff and then working their way up, you know. So I don't know if you're into podcasts, but if you've seen some of Mike Flanagan's stuff, like his first one was Absentia, which was made for like $70,000 and kind of looks it, but
Mhm.
he does a good job telling the story. And the next one's Oculus, which I thought was actually really good.
Yeah, I remember Oculus. Yeah, I liked Oculus. Yeah.
And then they just did the one I just listened to was about Hush, which is the first one where Kate Siegel's in, and Kate Siegel, she's awesome. She's a great actress. So yeah, if you're interested in that sort of thing, if you have time to listen to podcasts, I listen to podcasts all the time. I can't recommend that one enough. But again, you have to have seen the stuff he's doing if you understand what they're talking about. So just a recommendation if you have time.
Sure.
Is there any other shows or things that you watch that you think other people should be watching?
I had to give Reacher a try this week.
Oh, you didn't like
Reacher? I've got comparisons to Bishop Rider to Reacher, so I'm like, oh, maybe I'll give it a shot. I like Tom Cruise's movies, so I'm like, well, I'll give this one a shot. And I watched season 1, and it was okay. And maybe a letdown at the end for the finale. So I'm like, I thought I'd give season 2 a try. And when I posted about it, people said, oh, man. And I'm like, really? They were right. It shit the bed, something fierce. Like, I wish I could recommend it, but I just can't. It's got those moments where, you know, I don't know how you can't hear a car at night with its lights on going 80 miles an hour rushing at you to hit you, and you don't see it. Then you get hit by that vehicle, and somehow 6 hours later you're awake in the hospital to be questioned by a giant. Anyways, and then the hospital that they're in, this is one of my big pet peeves of horror movies in general. Hospitals are pretty busy.
Right.
There's a lot of sick people, but I don't know how they can have floors with no one working on them. And they can have all these fights and no one, you know, it's just one of my pet peeves. And what else was there? Oh, there was this sing-along where I'm like, are we having a sing-along in the middle of this action show?
Musical numbers. Just what they do in Cop Rock. Do you remember Cop Rock?
I don't remember Cop Rock. No.
It was this very experimental ABC show where they had cops, but it was like a cop show, but it was musical. Musicals. It was terrible. Just bloody terrible. I don't even know what to explain.
So I can't recommend Reacher anyways. I want to. Season 1, if you watch season 1, have fun. But season 2, I'd stay away from.
Yeah, I think the guy that plays Reacher, I think he's like, I don't know if you know him outside, but he's a pretty good dude outside of.
Oh yeah, no, nothing against Richmond. I think I prefer Cruise's interpretation better.
Which I find interesting, because most people who like the books have said that the Cruise one wasn't right because he didn't look like what Reacher is.
Right.
Reacher's apparently like a pretty massive guy.
He is. And I've read a few books and I like the books. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't know what just didn't transfer. And I don't get me wrong, I like Alan Ritchson, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah. And that thing, everything's subjective, right? Like,
yep.
Yeah. So what do you do? So yeah.
But I'm watching Evil. Have you watched Evil?
I started the first episode, but I didn't get past that. Because
I'm in season 3. It's like X-Files light, I call it.
Oh, okay. Well, then that interests me now, because I was kind of just like dragging my way through the first episode. I'm like, because they had the guy from Lost that I can't ever remember his name, who's really good.
Ben Linus or Michael Emerson? Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael Emerson's the actor, but Ben Linus was the character on Lost.
Okay. Yeah. Michael Emerson, the guy who could move the island in a Lost.
Yes.
So, for those of you didn't. So, that guy, he's just a really great way of
He's a great actor.
things.
Yeah.
He was also really good in Person of Interest. I don't know if you ever watched that show.
I did. I think I watched the first 3 or 4 seasons, and then I don't know why we dropped off.
I think that's one of those shows that kind of runs its course, and then you're just like, okay, well, that's good enough. But yeah, I only watched the first episode, and I didn't really go far enough. Problem is, it feels like a network show, and I'm so used to watching streaming things where it doesn't feel like that, and maybe that's more just my uncomfortability with it. Who knows? But yeah,
I'm looking forward to. That came out today. The Gorge. Have you seen on Apple TV? You seen the commercials for that?
I think I've seen the commercials. I haven't watched it. Who's in that? I'm trying to remember.
Miles Teller, and I can't
Oh,
remember her name. She was in The Queen's Gambit.
oh, Anna Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, yeah. And I think Sigourney Weaver's in it too. But anyways, it came out today. I want to check it out, and so I'm probably plugging that for someone. But anyways,
Yeah, that is that's a movie though. That's not a show. So just,
right? Yeah.
yeah. That looks. If those people are in it, Sigourney Weaver is in it. So yeah, that is Miles Teller and it's Anya Taylor-Joy. I said Anna. It's Anya. Yeah. I still think I know everybody did the Queen's Gambit. I think her role in The Menu, which was
Oh, that was a good. Yeah, I like that movie too. Yeah.
she was so good in that, and she didn't even have like the major role. I mean, Ray Fiennes gets all the thing because he was really good in that too. But that's kind of an underrated movie, I think, for people. But yeah, so Greg is asking us to talk about this to explain. Oh, where's it at? There it is.
Explain that picture.
Yes.
So it was, promotional for the new book. My son was helping me out with some stills, and we bought some fake blood, and it worked out pretty good, I think.
I think it looks great. Explain the mustaches, please, because I know you use that in a lot of your pictures.
I do. So it just differentiates me or a dirtbag from Bishop Rider. And I don't even write Bishop Rider with a mustache. He doesn't have a mustache, but I needed something to separate the two. So the mustache was it.
Yeah. So he used that. He also has a mannequin head that.
Oh, Bruce. Yeah.
Bruce. I knew there was a name, and I couldn't remember what it was called.
So when we moved to this house 5 years ago, this was my in-laws' house. My mother-in-law had to go to the hospital, so we moved in here. And there's this back room and an old storm cellar. And I guess my father-in-law was making these mannequins for a pirate. We have a boat cruise business, so he was going to have a pirate cruise, and he was making these pirates out of these mannequins, and it just never ended up coming to fruition. And so I found this half guy. It's like I was meant to find him. So I put him in some of my book picks and videos, and people like him. It seemed
it's fun, and you also put mustaches on him too. So
I do sometimes, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't have any. I mean, we covered books and all this stuff. So I want to ask a bit. Do you have any books that you are looking forward to coming out this year that you're aware of? Like I don't keep up with what's coming out in books so much as I do movies and shows. What are you, if you have any that you could recommend to look forward to coming out this year?
Jeff McPhee's The Contest, but I think that just came out yesterday or the day before. Excuse me. So I ordered that. I'm looking forward to that. And then, well, I've already read it. I was very fortunate, but King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. So I got to read it early. So you guys aren't ready. It's a great fucking book. So I still look forward to it coming out. But
yeah, he's such a good writer though. So
yeah. And then what is King's next one? Flinch? No. I can't remember what the name of King's new one is. It's got 2 stories in it about a serial killer, and it crosses with Holly Gibney. Is it called Finch? Anyways, it's the new King book, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Okay. Have you read Do You Like It Darker by his last short story series?
Yeah. There were some good gems in there. Some were just, they were fine. But I say fine, but they're still good by King. But there were some good ones and a couple good novellas in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like I think the one where was it the son of the brother,
the ex-husband?
It was the brother of the kid who died in Cujo. I think it was the brother.
No, I think it was the father.
Was it the father? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. It was the father because then the wife and him parted ways.
Right. Rattlesnakes. And then Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream. I think it was my favorite of that book.
You know, it's funny. I think Nick Kowalski was the one who said he really liked that too. And then I read it, and I personally wasn't as enthralled by that as some of the other ones. So yeah, again, it's all subjective. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's just fucking this, because the standard for King is so high, it's kind of hard to, if it's something that feels like, oh, well, that was underwhelming. But if it was somebody else, you'd be like, well, that was really good. So I think the problem is the bar is so high for him. It makes it hard for him to write.
I think that's why you can ask 10 people in the Dark Tower books. They'd all have different 1s through 8.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Dark Tower, last thing, talk about that.
Sure.
Did you like the ending or did you not?
Yes. It's the only way it could end. I love it.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I had friends get super mad at the ending.
Well, it's just you think about it now, like he gets his ending and we don't know what happens.
Mhm.
Right? So whatever goes on, I think he's going to do what he needs to do, but I don't know. I'll never see it, but I just know because he has the horn, it's a different ending than the
Yeah,
one cycles that
the
he's
horn's the
doing.
key.
What's that?
The horn is the key. Like
Yes, the
that
horn's
makes
the
it
key.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you wouldn't like if I say that nobody's read to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But that's like, yeah. But I was like, I am a fan of endings that are not clean. I do not like where everything's tidied up. Because that's not how life is. Life is messy.
Yep.
And like the endings being like, oh well, all these things are tied up. I remember I'll give you a perfect example of that. I watched a show on Hulu called Nine Perfect Strangers with Nicole Kidman and Melissa McCarthy was in it and Bobby Cannavale and all these really good actors. Really great show. And the last
Yeah.
episode, everything got tied up in nice little bows and everything worked out. And I was like, that is not how that's supposed to end. Everything was so messy all the way up. It was such a
Let
poor
down.
ending. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a letdown. You're exactly right. Like, also, oh, you mentioned Lost. Sorry, I'm going to go in endings here.
That's okay.
What did you think of the Lost finale?
One of the greatest series finales of all time.
You and I are going to fight because I fucking hated that finale.
I love that finale.
I fucking hated that finale
Now,
so much.
I will give you an asterisk. Season 6 overall shit the bed, but that finale, that was superb. I love that finale.
I detested that. That finale makes me angry to this day.
It does a lot of people.
That's unhealthy. I know that's unhealthy. I'm just saying.
It gets too much hate. Yeah.
Listen, I get why certain people like it. I just hated it. Like, I just,
Fair enough.
I mean, there was Saeed and whoever he ended up wasn't the person that they should have ended up with at the end.
Yeah, he ends up with Shannon instead of Nadia. Yeah.
Yeah. And it should have been Nadia. The
Should have
fact
been.
it was all like, well, it's all religion and we're all tied together. And that was like, that's too kumbaya for
I just
me.
think they couldn't have done the threesome. It would have been nice, but anyways, yeah.
That's a whole different series.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right, man. Well, we got an hour in, and anything else you want to blab about, man? I'm open to talking to whatever because I can talk forever. But
I think people should go out and buy my book.
Oh,
This new
absolutely.
book is a good book. I hope you go and find it.
Yeah. So, Like-Minded Individuals by Beau Johnson. Sorry, I've covered your name.
That's
So
okay.
This is like I said, I'm halfway through, enjoying the hell out of it. Again, it's something where if you are looking for something where it's like all these things sort of staccato, like very fast-paced stuff, you'll love it. It's really excellent that way. I'm looking forward to finishing this. So yeah, you can order it either on Amazon, but what I will do is I will share the original publisher, which is Down and Out Books.
Yep.
So there's that. So they, have all these different things. So Like-Minded Individuals by Beau Johnson, right there. There we go.
Hey,
so you
there
can order,
it is.
Yeah, so you can look up Down and Out Books. You can also look on Amazon. Just look up Beau Johnson and you'll see it. You can order all of his books. I mean, I think seven or 8 books are you up to now?
8 with my name on it, but 7 I've written.
Okay. So yeah, do yourselves a favor, buy them. Hey, it's always good to support
Spread the word.
authors. Yeah,
Join the resistance.
Yeah, join the resistance, definitely. And if you're not following Beau on social media, absolutely should. So just look for him on Blue Sky, and I think JHG asked if you were on Threads.
I am, yeah.
Okay.
But business there is abysmal. So, anyways, that's fine.
Threads is also, I think, part of Meta, and unfortunately, everything's part of Meta anywhere.
It seems that way, yeah. TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads, Facebook for us old people. I think that's it.
Yeah.
I have a new website my wife built.
Oh, okay.
I'm on Threads, Jonathan. Yeah. So my wife at bishopwriterbooks.com, she just built it last week or the week before. So check out there. And if you want a signed book, never assume that anybody wants a signed book, but they're there if you want.
Yeah. So we have, let me present that. Bishop Writer Books. There we go.
There it is.
I want to say that one of my favorites is this one. All of them.
All of them to burn.
One of great fucking title. Just a
Thank
great goddamn title. What show? I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
for those
like
that don't
that.
know, this is the book where Bishop Ryder dies.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Yep. So there's one story in there that isn't actually. I think I messaged you and said this one particular story in there was like it wasn't even really Bishop Ryder, but it was the way you wrote it. And I think it was about like being the author's perspective. I'm trying to remember what the heck that was called, and I just was like, "Wow!"
Or the character's perspective.
I think maybe that's what it was, but it was just like a completely different viewpoint, and I just thought that was superb. Like
I think I was building character. The character's talking to what the author's been doing to him over the years.
Yes, that's what it was, and that
Yeah.
was just an excellent little story.
Well,
so yeah, do yourselves a favor and buy these books. They're super affordable, and you know what? You're supporting smaller authors, which is always a good thing. So
I will concur.
Yeah, agreed. So, Beau, I want to thank you again for joining us and kind of being on the fly here with us, kind of putting this new show out. And
I appreciate it, Doug. Thanks for thinking of me.
Yeah, and I'm glad we could be able to talk to you about all this, and hopefully we can have you back again, talk more books and stuff.
Sure, I'd enjoy that. Me and I have Renee on. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately she was busy tonight, so she couldn't because I asked her. Mm-hmm. So she was like, unfortunately, I can't make it. So, but next time, definitely have Renee on because she has a wealth of book knowledge that I don't have. So yeah. But again, Beau, really appreciate your time. Thanks for being on, and take care of yourself.
My thanks to you. Take care, Doug.
Yep. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Doug.
Yes, sir. The
was
voice. Fun. The voice. Yes, it was very fun. So yeah.
I am more than a voice. Don't minimize me to just that. Sorry. Oh, Doug. Yeah, you better be, man. I'm watching you. I know you like that music, Doug, but
I love that music.
Before we talk about your interview here, I like to talk about real quick what I'm watching, because I'm barely watching anything. Do not watch this. I repeat, do not watch this. Don't do it. Thank you. Cool. All right. Do watch this. Clean Slate. It's funny. This trans woman comes back home after not being around her father for like 20 years, and it's a big surprise, and it's just fun. It's funny. So check it out, y'all. It's like 24. I think there's 8 episodes. It's on Prime. They're like 25 minutes long, so it's just a short hitter. It's just funny. So check it out, y'all. I really like it. Doug, are you watching anything that you want to talk about?
Well, as I was talking with our guest there, I was watching the Severance show. I did not get to the episode that got released today. That show, I'm not going to be able to recommend it enough. It's odd and funny and serious and beautiful and touching and all the things you can think of. It's just superbly done. The other thing that I was saying that I was watching was, like I said, I was talking about the podcast that I was listening to with Flanagan's Wake. So I most recently watched this one, which is a movie called Hush. This is by Mike Flanagan. So basically the premise is this particular lady is deaf, and she kind of removed herself from society to write books. She's an author. Kate Siegel, who is married to Mike Flanagan now, who wasn't at the time when they co-wrote this movie and put it together. So she basically is terrorized by this guy outside of her house, but she's deaf, so she can't hear what he's doing. And so it's really well done. It's not my favorite. My youngest son loves this movie. That's one of his favorite horror movies. So and he's kind of a horror movie buff. So yeah, that's what I've been watching.
All right, Doug. Cool. One more thing. you listening to, Doug? Anything?
I am listening to an audiobook by James S.A. Corey, who wrote the Expanse series. So I rented that from the library because I'm trying to get away from Audible because fuck Jeff Bezos. The book, well, I don't think that should be anything controversial. The book I'm
Oh, I'm
reading,
just laughing. I think it's
the
funny.
book I'm listening to is Mercy of Gods, which is basically a new series that James S.A. Corey is actually two people who write these books. The Expanse series books are great. The show was the best sci-fi show I've ever watched in my life, and I know people will find that controversial considering there's Star Trek, but that show is awesome. This is a really different take on sci-fi because basically a planet of humans gets overtaken by aliens, and like it's really interesting to see how they do it because it's different. But yeah, again, I'm using Libby. That is an app you can use where you can get audiobooks from your library, which let's support all our libraries as much as we can. So do that.
Do that. Do that. Is that all, Doug? Did you listen to anything else this week? Or
I mean, my normal podcast that I normally listen to, like the other things. Oh, one thing I will say, I don't think I've mentioned on the show before, is I really like listening to Smosh and Two Hot Takes, which is just basically people reading Reddit stories and talking about them. You love Reddit. I'm telling you, the Reddit stories that they talk about are just fucking nuts. And are these people real? Who's doing this stuff? Like, it's so fucking fascinating to listen to. It's like listening to the worst of humanity. So maybe that doesn't make me great in that respect, but I feel like those things they're fun, distracting listens.
Mm-hmm. Sadly, it's real. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, Doug. So I've been listening to an assortment of things. If y'all on our Discord, we have a listening to tab. So I've been putting all those in, but just a really quick roundtable. What I've been listening to is so I've started doing deep dives and going all the way back on my favorite peoples. So one of them is Stevie Wonder. I listened to the first couple Stevie Wonder albums, which are wild because Stevie Wonder was 12 years old when he did his first one, Doug. So that's wild. That's insane. And it was just excellent. It's just like this jazz album, and it's mostly covers and people are writing for him, but he's playing on it, and it's just really great. So go back on Stevie Wonder, y'all. Spotify is a horrible organization or whatever the hell, but it is good for going back. They have like full discographies of everybody. I Was Made to Love Her was a great Stevie Wonder one. Then I jumped over to the Rolling Stones. And wow, man, the Rolling Stones, not only, I mean, they got a lot of bangers. We all know that. But man, they're so cringe back in the day. They've cleaned up their act, but they were extremely cringe.
Well, considering Mick Jagger basically had a underage girl get signed away by her mother so she could tour with him, so he could, do awful things. Steven Tyler did that for Aerosmith too. So this wasn't just them. So
yeah, and it was like in their music too. It was kind of synonymous where like these rappers were like, yeah, I did this, and then the cops were like, okay, thanks, and then they arrested and shit, and then like it almost felt like that. So old Rolling Stones, but man, it's really good listening though, y'all. For the record, then I jumped over to James Brown. Was listening to his old stuff. There's some really good stuff there, of course. I was back over to the Rolling Stones. Then I jumped over to the Jackson 5, and then I jumped over to Michael Jackson. So I've been all over the place. Temptations this morning. I do want to show this one real quick. So I was listening to Temptations this morning, Doug, and I don't know. It was the Psychedelic Shacks.
I don't think I've ever heard of that album from them.
Yeah. I don't think many people. It doesn't have like those traditional Temptation songs. In fact, the reason it was the first one I looked at because I googled best Temptations albums, and you come up with these like people's ideas and all that. But what I read, Doug, I read that like it this says here that like it had hard rock guitars and synthesizer sound effects, and it was like not the less traditional feel than Temptations. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm in. And it was like it wasn't anything like the Temptations, like them. I mean, you knew the voices, but it was just like a different band behind it. It was really bizarre, but it not bizarre in a good way, y'all. Check it out. Psychedelic Shack, The Temptations. If y'all got Spotify, check it out. Trust me on that one. It was a really good time. And then I listened to, I don't know, then I listened to All Directions, and then from The Temptations, it's an album, and it was just like the Temptations, like as you know them. So it was just cool to so I don't know. I've been listening to old school music, Doug. Going back on, some, just think of one of your favorite bands and be like, damn, have I ever heard their first album or the first couple albums?
Yeah.
And jump in like that. It's really good.
Yeah, it just reminds me where, like fucking Zach saying earlier that I had an NXS tattoo, which I don't. But what's funny is some of their like earlier albums were actually really good, but under the radar, and that's because they were Australian. So I get you, like going back to artists that you like, and then being like, let me hear their super early stuff. And unfortunately, my brain stays in the '80s most of the time when it comes to music. But I think going back and like the idea of listening to Stevie Wonder when he was 12 do these songs, that's just wild. That is wild. That guy's Stevie Wonder's a musical genius. So,
yeah, and these are things that we only do like when unfortunately when our people pass, we're like, oh, I'm gonna go back, look, Stevie's still here, so we should be celebrating him as hard as we can, and until then. So in excess, look, we're making fun of them, but they were kind of tight back in the day, Doug. We're not in excess was tight.
Yeah. It's a shame how their guy passed away, but like,
that wasn't tight, but that still applies, that comment. Doug, as far as the interview goes, it's always interesting to get a perspective from respectfully, and I say respectfully because I don't mean it in a derogatory way, but it's always nice to get a perspective from a Canadian person. I know, we're not saying that as a joke. We're literally saying it as respect. Obviously, there'd be a lot of people in America that'd be like, fuck a Canadian. What do they have to fucking say about American politics? Who the fuck are they? They just like maple syrup and what is it? Maple leaves
and Moosehead beer.
And Moosehead beer and Molson Canadian and Labatt's Blow.
And hockey.
Who plays hockey? What the fuck?
And they use too many U's.
Yeah. Canada's America's hat. God damn it. So.
And Beau said in the Tragically Hip. It's a very Canadian band, so perfect. Hey, all right.
Drake.
Yeah, R.I.P. to Gordy though. So yeah.
All right. Yeah. Say Drake. Our favorite Canadian is Drake. But anyway, Doug. No, it was good to hear his perspective. The horror gore genre is interesting. I know it's something that you love, so that was fun. So man. This is a fun little thing. We'll see. I'm gonna put this up here, right? Because we're about to wrap, right, buddy? Or I don't know. You tell me what goes on in this thing. But we got this, right? You want to talk about that, Doug?
Yeah. So the next time we're gonna actually do this also on the Mortal Content YouTube page. This one I believe is going to be movies. We'll announce who the guests are. We have some people in the works. So we'll see how that breaks out. But I believe movies is where we're going to go next. Again, this is going to go all over the place. There's going to be shows where we just talk podcasts or shows where we just talk music. Like we have lots of folks that we can draw from our Speakeasy group that have a lot of knowledge and expertise in different things that are going to be helpful with media. You can't listen or watch everything. So like having folks who can help guide us through and help with that is always good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to whoever we get on the show. And again, this is going to be a fun endeavor, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of guests that were on Speakeasy or Brothers and Booze, but you're also going to see some guests that aren't. And y'all going to see some co-hosts that you'll be familiar with, and you probably will see some co-hosts that you aren't. So it's going to be a mixed bag. It should be fun.
Yeah, but it'll be a little bit more free flowing and all that sort of stuff. So, well,
Doug
maybe not
another gig.
Yeah, maybe not as
Doug,
free flowing as Speakeasy, because that goes all over the
Friday.
place. But
Yeah, but Doug gets another gig. This is your third. How many more we're going to be doing here?
I think that might be my limit, sir.
I don't know. I'm just asking. I mean, whatever you want to do is cool. All right, Doug. Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for joining in and listening to Beau and I talk books and all other sorts of things. So yeah, thank you for joining us, and looking forward to doing some more. And go out and buy Beau's books. Seriously, they're good. They're quick read. They're not. This is the thing. You can. It's not like sometimes where you pick up something. It's like, that's a tome. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to finish an 800-page book. You'll be able to get through them fast. They're good. They're entertaining. Yeah, and just like I said, if you like anything that's just got sort of a crime and gore to it, you'll love it. You'll eat them right up. So go out and buy his books.